Imagine how much propaganda it took to convince women that this is oppressive. Have you seen these posts on social media? TikTok and Instagram are full of videos and photos with this exact message. The idea that feminists have convinced women that being a stay-at-home mom or a housewife is oppressive. These are some of the photos that people post, and obviously they're all the same. It's a mom stirring some sort of food in the kitchen while her little daughter looks at her adoringly and her husband stands behind her holding a baby, either kissing her or kissing the baby. Most of these families are white. Some of them have like a 1950s, 1960s vibe, and they are all AI slop. They literally look like someone typed into an AI photo generator, Mad Men family, happy. Like that man is giving Don Draper vibes. And here are some of the videos. Girl, who is telling you that being at the beach with your baby is oppressive? Do they think that feminists don't bake? Who is telling women that you're not allowed to bake, that it's oppressive to bake? No one is saying that. They just put those children into so many dangerous situations. Oh my God. These videos are just so wild to me as a mom of a toddler. Because do they think I don't do all of these things with my kid too? Guess what? I still dance around the kitchen with my daughter. I still cook meals. I still bake bread. I still have an herb garden in the yard. And I work. These things don't need to be mutually exclusive, and for most people, they aren't. Because the other thing that these people don't talk about is the fact that being a stay-at-home mom is actually a privilege right now. There are so many people who would love to be stay-at-home moms, but can't because they can't afford it. Most families need multiple incomes to survive right now. And on the other hand, there are some stay-at-home moms who feel forced into that simply because of their financial situations. If you live in a place where childcare is more expensive than the money that you were making in your job, you might stop doing your job to be a stay-at-home mom, even if you had career ambitions or a desire to be out of the home, to be around other adults, to be working in a way that felt fulfilling. And these videos are shaming women who want fulfillment outside of the home. And here's one woman's response video to some of these.
It's too early for this shit. Imagine how much propaganda it took to convince women this isn't what success looks like. That's not what propaganda is, and this is not what happened. The propaganda was telling women for generations, decades, and millennia that they literally could not do anything else except exactly what you're doing. I don't know genuinely why stay-at-home moms feel the need to try and convince themselves and others that they're the ones breaking the mold. Like the amount of posts that I see from stay-at-home moms being like, you don't have to follow the norm, you can step out of the box. Being a stay-at-home mom is the definition of being in the box. You're doing exactly what's expected of you. Also, your success looks like a lot of other women's literal definition of hell on earth. And if it's not for you and that's what brings you joy, that's fine. But I'm kind of done with stay-at-home moms trying to convince themselves that like they're the brave ones like breaking out. You're doing exactly what society conditioned you to do, which if that's what you want is fine. But other women choosing to do something different isn't falling for propaganda.
She makes a great point. This isn't propaganda. These conservatives wouldn't recognize propaganda if it slapped them in the face. And I say that because we are in a media ecosystem of propaganda that they have just ignored completely. So first of all, this on its own is not oppressive. Being a stay-at-home mom is not oppressive. Nobody's saying that. What's oppressive is when this is women's only option. When women were forced to be housewives. When women were relegated to the domestic sphere. When women were stigmatized for working outside of the home. Shamed for having ambitions beyond the kitchen. Squished into a box of a singular definition of femininity. It wasn't propaganda that taught women that that was oppressive. It was the fact that women couldn't get credit cards, couldn't open their own bank accounts, couldn't purchase their own property, couldn't get contraception even when married, couldn't get a divorce without proving misconduct, couldn't protect themselves against workplace discrimination, and could get fired simply for becoming pregnant. That's not propaganda. That's just historical fact. This is the problem with our current fact-skeptical media environment. When nothing is considered fact, everything can be framed as propaganda. There's this idea now that whatever the other political side says is propaganda. One of the things that's very clear in all of these videos and the photos is that these women don't know what oppressive means. It's just a talking point, a phrase from the GOP gods that they are parroting. What does it mean for something to be oppressive? Let's go back to the basics. Oppressive means causing hardship, weighing heavily on the senses or spirit, or treating people in a cruel and unjust manner. Psychologically, it relates to situations or moods that induce anxiety, unhappiness, or an overwhelming sense of dread. I want you to remember those words. Situations that induce anxiety, unhappiness, or dread. In addition to the imagine how much propaganda this took to convince women that this was oppressive trend, there's this other trend about homemaking being forgotten about. But it really gets at the same message. Some of them are more subtle, like this one.
We live in a day and age where traditional homemaking has been forgotten about and even looked down on. Where women are fighting to be in the same positions as men, indoctrinated to focus more on their careers and less on the home. Our roles are meant to complement each other, not to compete. Somewhere along the line, feminine has been replaced with feminism with the sole purpose of keeping women out of the home, which forces those to rely on the government to teach and raise our children, and an overall disconnect in the home because the one created to nurture it has been empowered to neglect it.
No one is forcing women out of the home. That has never happened. The only thing that is forcing women out of the home is our late stage capitalist society that requires people to have two incomes to raise even a small family. And some of them are a bit more obvious in their Christian nationalism.
We live in a day and age where traditional homemaking has been forgotten about and even looked down on. Where women are fighting to be in the same positions as men, indoctrinated to focus more on their careers and less on the home. When God created men and women more than just biologically different, our roles are meant to complement each other, not to compete. Our husbands are to be the breadwinners as we are to be the bread makers. Somewhere along the line, feminine has been replaced with feminism with the sole purpose of keeping women out of the home, which forces those to rely on the government to teach and raise our children. Marriage is falling apart because the God who created it is being left out of it. And an overall disconnect in the home because the one created to nurture it has been empowered to neglect it.
The women posting these videos and photos to TikTok and Instagram are upholding the very patriarchal systems that want to disenfranchise them. Women who carry water for the patriarchy are the first to drown in it. And if we can learn anything from housewives of the past and adult tradwives now, it's that they're the ones who will suffer in the end. If their husbands die or become disabled or otherwise unable to work, or leave them for a younger model of the same housewife, they're out of luck. They have committed their lives to serving at the pleasure of their husbands. And they can't get by if their so-called provider suddenly stops being able to provide. They submit and obey and serve their families, but their kids grow up and move out. Their husbands find fulfillment in jobs and hobbies. And at the end of the day, these women are left cleaning empty homes and serving extravagant meals for nobody. For some people, that's lovely. For others, it's suffocating. And when we force that lifestyle on women, it is oppressive. And that's the thing about so many of these women, is that they want to trade feminism for femininity, but they aren't actually thinking about what feminism has done for them.
It's not women belong in the kitchen. It's imagine how much propaganda it took to convince a whole generation of women that caring for your home, child, and husband is oppressive. It's not women shouldn't be allowed to work. It's I married a provider, so I could go to TJ Maxx and Pilates on a Tuesday. It's not women aren't equal to men. It's men and women have biological differences. Men are the head, women are the heart. We are happiest when we embrace the rules that we were assigned at birth.
This is a great perspective from Jess because it points out that there is subtle messaging with these videos. And sometimes these women don't even realize that, right? They see a trend, they see this phrase, oh, imagine how much propaganda it took to tell women that this was oppressive, and they hop on the trend. They think, oh, I'm a stay-at-home mom, I don't feel oppressed, and they don't recognize the difference between personal oppression and systemic oppression. What we are saying is that the system that requires women to be stay-at-home moms and doesn't give them opportunities to do anything else is oppressive.
There's a generation of women running back to a life we were never taught but desperately want to know. A life our grandmothers understood without needing to call it anything. Before it was called slow living, before we called it homesteading, it was just life. A kitchen that stayed warm most of the days, bread rising quietly on the counter, laundry swaying in the breeze behind the house, kids running in and out of the back door, leaving muddy footprints and stories behind them. Women used to know how to make a home feel alive. Not perfect, not spotless, but full. Full of food on the stove, full of people around the table, full of little daily rhythms that made life feel steady and safe. Somewhere along the way, the world told us that kind of life was old-fashioned, that faster was better, that convenience was better, that busy meant you were doing something right. But now it feels like so many of us are quietly turning back around, learning the things no one really taught us: how to bake bread, how to grow a garden, how to sit on the porch at the end of the day instead of rushing to the next thing, how to build homes that feel warm again, not because we have to, but because something deep inside us remembers that life wasn't meant to feel this rushed. And maybe that's why so many women right now are picking up old recipes, planting flowers, hanging laundry on the line, and trying to bring back a little bit of this life. Not perfectly, just slowly. Just one small, ordinary day at a time.
This kind of video is exactly what draws women, young women especially, into this like alt-right pipeline. Because so many people do feel exhausted by the faster paced life, by the girl boss life of 10 years ago, 15 years ago. There are a ton of people who want this kind of thing, who want to return to this nostalgic, slower life. It's why we're seeing so many people talk about the 90s summer and wanting to create a 1990s style summer for their kids. It is tiring to be on our phones all the time, to be bombarded by news nonstop, to have horrifying things shown to us as we're just scrolling through our phones. We want a break. We want to feel taken care of. And that's why this kind of thing is so appealing. But this idea that like our grandmothers knew this lifestyle, but our grandmothers also struggled. They weren't just these perfectly happy housewives who were cooking meals and enjoying time with the kids. They had challenges too. And we love to romanticize the past, I know. But it wasn't all sunshines and daisies and rainbows. I also laugh because this is so anti-city. This is not how a lot of people's grandparents grew up. They weren't putting bread on the counters and kids running around in the backyard and hanging clothes on the clothesline. People lived in cities too. And there's this patriarchal undercurrent because where are the men? Women used to know how to make homes feel alive. That's why women are picking up old recipes and planting things in the garden and hanging laundry. But what are the men doing? We can't just wake up in the 1950s and go back to that lifestyle. We live in the modern world. All of these videos paint this picture of happy housewives, vintage moms who were loving their lives. That wasn't reality. Why were the housewives and stay-at-home moms of the 50s, 60s, and 70s happy? Because they were on drugs. I'm not joking. They were on Mother's Little Helpers like Valium and Librium and a ton of other medications. Let's look at some of the ads from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s for these medications, because I think it's gonna make a point that I am trying to get at here. This is for Miles Nervine. It says, nerves jumpy, Miles Nervine helps you feel calm. Now and then, tense nerves make you feel jumpy, easily irritated. Sometimes nervous headache follows. Why put up with all this when Nervine can help? Nervine acts gently and fast to help you calm down. Helps in sleeplessness too. By calming that jangled feeling, it lets you sleep naturally. The pictures are a housewife. She's baking. Clearly, she just burned some muffins. And then another picture of her happily taking some medication. Nervine was introduced in 1884 as a bromide-based patent medicine tonic. It was meant to treat everything from headaches to insomnia to epilepsy to anxiety, and it was ultimately banned by the FDA in 1975 because it was a heavy sedative. Here's another one. This one is called Cirax. You can't set her free, but you can help her feel less anxious. It's a woman who is, I don't know, cleaning a million things at once. She's ironing, she has a mop bucket next to her, she has all of her brooms and mops and cleaning materials near her. And the ad says, you know this woman. She's anxious, tense, irritable. She's felt this way for months. Beset by the seemingly insurmountable problems of raising a young family and confined to the home most of the time, her symptoms reflect a sense of inadequacy and isolation. Your reassurance and guidance may have helped some, but not enough. Cirax cannot change her environment, of course, but it can help relieve anxiety, tension, agitation, and irritability, thus strengthening her ability to cope with day-to-day problems. Eventually, as she regains confidence and composure, your counsel may be all the support she needs. So this is clearly an ad directed at husbands saying like, you should get your wife on this medication. Cirax was really popular in the early 1960s, and it is a short to intermediate acting benzodiazepine. Here's another one. This one is called Butasol. Once again, the picture is a housewife. She's all tangled up in a rope from her child, and she's in the kitchen, positioned in front of a stove. It says, now she can cope thanks to Butasol, daytime sedative for everyday situational stress. When stress is situational, environmental pressure, worry over illness, the treatment often calls for an anxiety-allaying agent which has a prompt and predictable calming action and is remarkably well tolerated. Butasol sodium meets this therapeutic need. Butasol is a barbiturate sleep aid and anxiety medication, and although it's still in circulation, it's rarely used because it can have really devastating effects when paired with alcohol. And as we all know, women in the 50s, 60s, and 70s were drinking alcohol a lot, often while pregnant or with children in the home. That was just like a go-to thing. And that's not to say that things have changed that much. I mean, why do we have all these wine moms now? People are always looking for something to cope with the stresses of everyday life. Here's another medication called Milprom. In the menopause, transition without tears. Milprom promptly relieves emotional distress with lasting control of physical symptoms. And again, the photo shows a housewife. It looks like she's serving people at maybe a party or just a dinner event at her house. And the idea here is that menopausal women are emotional and hysterical and need medication to treat it. Milprom was a combination drug that contained meprobamate, which is a tranquilizer, and conjugated estrogens. So it was supposed to help with both anxiety and hot flashes. But once again, we have sedatives and tranquilizers and benzos, all to help calm the nerves of housewives. Here's one called Pacitol, and the ad shows a mom, a housewife, wearing like a typical housewife kind of 50s, 60s dress, and she's taking care of two little kids. The girl is like playing with the mom's dress. The ad says, "Mommy, play with me, mommy." She can now. But only a short time ago, Doris never had time for the kids. A crazy clean housekeeper, she chased dirt and germs all day long. This endless ritual seemed pointless, even to her, yet she couldn't help herself. She became short-tempered with the children, cried for no reason at all, was depressed and indecisive. Because her compulsiveness crowded out normal living, and Doris was on the brink of a serious breakdown, Pacitol was instituted. Pacitol therapy released this housewife from the grip of her neurosis. Pacitol was an antipsychotic and tranquilizer. I think it's really important to pay attention to the way that they described some of these housewives. They talked about experiencing emotional distress and loneliness and depression, beset by the seemingly insurmountable problems of raising a young family. She can't cope. She's dealing with everyday situational stress. She's confined to her home most of the time. Now, thinking about this in context, women were neurotic, hysterical, emotional, because they were oppressed. Giving women the option of working outside the home, encouraging them to find multiple sources of fulfillment, telling them not to be reliant on their husbands as their only source of income, that's not oppression, that's freedom. And the thing about these women is that so many of them are anti-feminist because they don't realize that feminism is exactly what allows them to choose to be a stay-at-home mom, a housewife. Part of the reason this lifestyle looks so appealing on social media is because people have options now. This is one of those the grass is always greener on the other side situations. The problem isn't that there are more young people who want to be stay-at-home moms or want to find joy in a slower life. It's that there's a narrative that people are trying to take that away from them. Giving women more options is not oppressive. It's not taking anything away from you. Saying that women can work and can have other goals and don't need to have children, it's opening a door to more possibilities. It is not closing any doors for you. This video gets at exactly what I'm trying to say with regard to options.
You only want to be a tradwife because you get to have the fun parts of being a stay-at-home wife while also enjoying a lot of the luxuries that feminism gave you. You get to flaunt that you get to go to all these Pilates classes and buy yourself whatever you want and do whatever. But the credit card that you are paying on that's in your name, you can only have that because of feminism. Oh, he put both of our names on the house. You can only have that because of feminism. If he starts beating you, if he starts cheating on you, you can divorce him. You have a way out. Now, it's still going to be hard for you to support yourself and find a job after being a stay-at-home wife for that long, but you don't have to stay in that marriage because of feminism. So if you're going to promote this stay-at-home wife lifestyle and how it's the ultimate, best, most superior way to be a woman, then you better be pro-feminist too, because it's only nice now because of those luxuries.
And again, feminism and femininity are not at odds with each other. You can be the most feminine version of yourself and still recognize that your life has been positively impacted by the waves of feminism that we have had. Okay, I think that's where we're going to wrap up today. If you're new here, hi, I'm Ileana. I talk about the intersection of politics and parenting. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for watching my video. I would love to have you follow me. I'm on all platforms as @IleanaJustine. I typically talk about MAGA influencers, conservative grifters, Christian nationalism, social media trends, and how it all ties back to politics. Because until we can all recognize that parenting is inherently political, we'll never be on the same page. Let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Have you seen these trends on TikTok and Instagram? Let's have a conversation about all of this. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.